From the Fidelity Bank Foundation studio, PBS Kansas presents One-on-One with Victor Hogstrom.
This is where the personalities and power players of Kansas come to talk about their lives, careers, and the impact they hope to have on their communities. This week and next week, we'll bring you special one-hour interviews with the two candidates running for Wichita mayor. We start with challenger Lily Wu. Wu is an immigrant, having come to the United States from Guatemala at age 8. She could only speak Chinese and Spanish at the time. She learned to speak English by watching the local TV news. That sparked her interest in journalism, which led to a 12-year career as a reporter and anchor on Cake TV and then KWCH. Now Lily Wu has ventured into politics. She received the most votes in the August primary for mayor. And now her campaign to unseat Mayor Brandon Whipple is headed down the stretch. It's a full hour with mayoral challenger Lily Wu right now, one-on-one. Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Victor Hogstrom, and I'm pleased to welcome mayoral challenger Lily Wu to the program.
Hello, Victor. Nice to be back on the one-on-one set. 6 years ago, I was here last.
I remember that, yes, and thank you for being back.
Well, I'm excited.
But this time in a different role. You surprised a lot of people when you decided to quit your job at KWCH as a journalist to run to be mayor. How did you come to that decision?
Victor, I had been doing a lot of soul searching, and I felt a calling because over the last 30 years of being a Wichitan, I have been really being part of this community and understanding the issues of this community. And as a professional journalist for the past 12 years, I've been hearing the dissatisfaction people have had, not just on what they considered as very partisan politics, but also unethical behavior and just dissatisfaction of not telling all the good that is happening here in our community. And someone who loves sharing the stories of our community, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, it really motivated me to say, how can I be a better servant to this community? And that motivated me to start asking questions and ask, would someone who does not have political experience be someone that should be a leadership role in the city of Wichita? And I've been hearing from folks saying they don't want a politician, they want a public servant. And that is who I have been for the past 20 plus years as a community member, starting my volunteering in this community. And I just said, okay, well, at that time, I was 38 years old, and I just said, I am going to take a big leap of faith and leave the career that I love to help serve the city of Wichita and help lead the city of Wichita in a different capacity. So I decided to run, and I have been now several months into this, and I'm just really grateful that people have continued to be supportive of someone who is new to politics, but not new to this community, that truly understands and is listening to our citizens.
So being a public servant turns you into a politician.
Well, it is politics, and yes. I agree with you. I've had to learn a lot about politics in terms of campaigning, something that as someone who has been on the outside reporting about campaigns, I didn't know a lot about. I didn't know about having to raise money. I didn't know about just the intricacies behind some of the established political parties. I'm not part of one of those two, and so it's been much more difficult. And so I continue to be who I am. I continue to be a real community member, and I want to continue being a leader in this community, but now I'm asking to be the next mayor.
What fascinates you about that?
Yeah, so the role of mayor to me has been someone that I have thought about as a role model, like Carl Brewer, like Bob Knight. Those were individuals that tried to bring community together. And for me, seeing someone like Bob Knight, I had the opportunity to interview him right after an anniversary for 9/11. And he was sharing with me the day of 9/11 and people being stranded at Wichita's airport, and how he was able to call just businesses around the community saying, can you provide some free food for these individuals that are stuck at our airport? Can you provide some assistance in terms of housing for them while they're stuck here in our community? And that's the type of leadership that I would love to emulate. Then you have folks like Carl Brewer, the late mayor, was someone that was a community builder, tried bringing different voices to the table, created the Mayor's Youth Council. Those are the type of leaders that I see that need to be in that leadership position of mayor. And I also believe that the role of mayor should be someone that is an ambassador for this city, not just internally, but also externally. Internally, we need someone that is Wichita's cheerleader, but also someone that can sell Wichita, can say, Wichita is an amazing place to live, work, and raise a family. Have you taken a look at our city? Have you thought about bringing talent here, investment here, industry here? And for those that have been living in our community, do you know of all the great things that are happening in Wichita? And as I've gone across this community for months, what has been surprising is a lot of folks don't know even the big headlines like the $300 million biomedical center that's coming to downtown Wichita. It's an educational and transformational project, and I still come across folks that don't know about it. So I believe that the role of mayor should be someone that is a bridge builder, a consensus builder, an ambassador for this community.
So what have you discovered that's been challenging or surprising in your run to be mayor?
Well, challenging, I am a first-time political candidate. And like you mentioned, I am getting into politics, but politics is in life, right? Everything that you make a decision on, you weigh this versus this, and that can get political. But politics in the sense of that foundational, this is how politics works, this is how campaigns works, has been challenging. I am someone that really wants to keep true to it being a nonpartisan race. And so I've had to build a team from ground up. I don't have all of the knowledge in terms of how politics and campaigning has been working. So I've gathered a team of folks that have had those experiences. And that's what I have been so appreciative of. People have wanted to join the team, whether it's volunteering, whether it's offering some advice. And that has been heartwarming because as someone who came to this country and all that my parents had was this dream of giving their kids that better chance at educational opportunities and a better chance in their life. We didn't have a big family. It's really just us. And so I consider the rest of Wichita part of my greater family. They all helped raise me. And I'm so grateful for that. And for me, it's really about, I understand that there are challenges, and this is, after all, it is a campaign. There's only going to be one person on November 7th at the end of the night, someone that will become the mayor of Wichita. And it is challenging because it's still a race for trying to be the next leader for this community. So there are challenges, but I am someone that works hard and will continue to work hard and will continue to, even when I've been beat down a little, I will get back up and I will try again.
Before you ran, I'm sure you discussed this with your parents too. What was the reaction?
Are you crazy? You know, my parents came to this country. My mom is a hairstylist. My dad has been working at a grocery store for more than 20 years. These are hardworking, just middle-class folks. Never would they imagine their daughter running for office. So they immediately said, this is not something that we would do? What are you getting yourself into? And especially seeing national politics and even at the legislative level, how it can get very nasty. I don't want that to happen here in Wichita, and I want it to be about the individual. You're voting on a person, on a leader, and the potential that that person has, not just in that office, but the proven track record that person has shown in the community. And so I explained to my parents, I bring a set of skills into this race as someone that has transferable skills. The skills I bring are 12 years of being a reporter, 20 plus years of being a volunteer and community leader, and 30 years of being a Wichitan. And so when I explained to them that these are the things that I bring to the table, and explain, yes, this is gonna be a long, long battle, they know me. They know that I'm a person that will, once I have a North Star, I will work so hard towards that North Star that they know that it's because I want to serve this community that they said, okay, Lily, we're all in with you.
So tell us, what do you see as the differences between you and the incumbent, Brendan Whipple?
Well, I'm not a politician. I know that we mentioned talking about this is politics, but I'm a first-time candidate. I'm bringing with me a fresh perspective and one that has not been in the office. I bring the skill of being a journalist. I've had the opportunity to be that person that has shared Wichita stories. I have been that person that has been able to go and find facts, then help reveal truth, and also hold public officials accountable. Those are transferable skills that can go into the mayor's office. Not only that, I also bring those 20 years of volunteering in our community. I have served on boards, whether it's the Wichita State Alumni Association, the Orpheum Theater. I started my very first 2 boards as an 18-year-old, Diversity Kansas and Visioneering Wichita. Those have all been part of me. Giving back to this community is not new to me. And so what sets me apart is I have been part of this community, and this community has invested in me. They invested in my education. I'm a proud Wichita Public School student. I'm a proud Wichita State University student. And I'm just really proud to come from this community. And what sets me apart is that I truly am just grateful for every single individual here in our community that invested in my education, because I know that when I received a free public school education, the word free is a misnomer. It's not free. Taxpayers paid for my public school education, which means Wichitans here who've been around for more than 30 years, you paid for my education. So thank you.
Lily, tell us, what do you see as the #1 issue facing Wichita right now?
Well, the #1 issue has been the #1 issue that I've been campaigning on since day one, and that is from listening to the community. And it really even goes back to before I started campaigning. As a reporter and an anchor here in our local community, I have seen over the last 4 years crime increasing. I have seen that response times have also increased. That's not a good thing for our community. And so #1 issue and priority is ensuring public safety. And when I say public safety, it is police, fire, water, infrastructure. But currently, at this moment in time, the crisis is in our Wichita Police Department. So the #1 issue is making sure that we can recruit and retain Wichita police officers. And so I am someone that will, from day one, be working on that with the police chief. I'm not asking to be the police chief. I think Chief Joe Sullivan has a plan for recruitment and retention, and I want to be a good supporter along with a city council of 6 additional people who will also be supporting them.
A major concern of many Wichitans is the dozens of vacancies in our police force. Contract negotiations have opened early because of that. A major issue of the talks is a recommendation by the Jensen Hughes report to eliminate the provision in the contract which allows officers under investigation for wrongdoing to see the entire investigative file before sitting down with a professional review board. Have you decided yet whether you are for or against this reform that the report thought was very important?
There are 3 specific provisions within the Jensen-Hughes report that are currently under review, and I think they all deal with opening the contract. And that contract will be open next year for the next additional round. But I do believe that the Jensen-Hughes report, I'm supportive of those recommendations with the chief of police, who has been vocal about what are ways that we can move forward. But again, these are all things that are part of the contract. So we have to have an opportunity to negotiate. And I'm not naive to say that we need to have this or the other. I do believe that at the negotiating table, these are all issues that we need to take a look at and we need to negotiate. And so as the mayor of Wichita, I am going to be very supportive of Chief Sullivan and how to move forward with that Jensen-Hughes report.
So homelessness is also a growing problem in Wichita and a huge concern of voters also. So what specifically would you do to get the homeless off the streets and out of neighborhoods? And what specific programs would you recommend, and how specifically would you pay for those programs?
You know, our houseless population here in Wichita is something that has gotten worse over the last 4 years. During this mayorship, someone could have taken a leadership role and has not. It's gotten worse. 4 years ago, our point in time for the homelessness was just under 600. In 2023, the point in time was 702. It has increased. And I've been told by many who work in that sector to try to help our individuals who are houseless that that problem is actually bigger than the 702 that we have as a number. So I am really grateful that there is now a homeless task force that has been meeting since January. And this group has brought together nonprofits, government, and business/industry. Because as you mentioned, someone's going to have to pay for some of these solutions. And again, there's not one solution. I've been at the table, not really as a decision maker, but just as a community member, because these are open meetings, which means any community member, including our mayor, could be at these meetings, but is not. And so when I'm at these meetings, just last week, we had our last one, and they got into subgroups and started talking about these are some solutions we have over the next 6 months. So there's a timeline. The problem, though, is there are some ideas that will cost money. So that group has another subgroup that really engages the business community to say, will you now step up with some financial resources? And I believe now that there's some sort of plan, the business community can also be part of the solution. So what is the role of local government is really the question. So the role of local government is to provide that public safety. That is one of the key missions for the city of Wichita. And I believe that when we talk about our houseless population, that is one of the groups of individuals that our Wichita Police Force engages with. And so we also have to be part of that solution. Again, the resources have to be aligned correctly. But at the current moment, though, we need the resources to be aligned so that we can have more police officers. When there's a 100 officer shortage, we need to deal with that first, while simultaneously having a leader at the table at this homeless task force meetings, helping to lead and helping to have a voice at that table. So when I see homelessness, the issue of homelessness, I see a plethora of issues. I see substance use, I see mental illness, and I see affordable housing, as well as shelter, things that are lacking in our community. But what I'm really hopeful for is we have established nonprofits that have been working on this issue for decades. So we're not new to this problem. Places like Humankind Ministries, Union Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, these are all folks that have been working on the issue of homelessness and want to continue to move forward, but they want to know who else in leadership can have a voice at the table. And I believe that when you have a mayor that is not at the table right now, but you have a candidate who is sitting on the outskirts, it says something.
So you mentioned the 100 officers shortage. How do you plan to deal specifically with that shortage of the 100 officers?
Yes. So I mentioned earlier that our biggest issue is recruitment and retention, and I believe that those are two separate things. So we have a recruitment issue, and that is a nationwide problem. Recruitment for law enforcement officers, whether in Wichita, Kansas, or across the USA, has been struggling. A lot of folks are not comfortable becoming law enforcement officers and don't see the value of becoming a public servant that gets scrutinized to the nth degree. So we need to remind ourselves that we need great individuals who want to be public servants in police officer positions. We need to continue recruiting them. We need to recruit at a younger age as well, which I'm really glad to see that the Wichita Police Department has a Youth Citizens Police Academy. I'm an alum of the Citizens Police Academy for adults, but I was glad to see that they're really targeting the young people, saying, hey, have you thought about a career in law enforcement? Have you thought about all the different opportunities within PD? So that's recruitment. And not just that, I've been able to hear from Police Chief Sullivan on his ideas on recruitment. And I know that there's a video coming soon that is a recruitment video that will be targeted towards cities where law enforcement officers have been less valued. And we in our community, thankfully, Wichitans value our police officers, and we want to share with them why Wichita is the right place to come. So that's recruitment. Then you have retention. We have another 100 officers who are eligible for retirement. And when you talk about retention, I've been talking with the Sheriff's Office. So I'm really grateful for the support and endorsement of Sedgwick County Sheriff Jeff Easter, as well as previous sheriffs for our county. And what they're telling me is that, hey, take a look at what Sedgwick County is also doing. One thing that I've learned over the last few months is the wellness program within Sedgwick County Sheriff's deputies. And I think that's something that we can look at and say, should the Wichita Police Department also have something like that? So that's, again, a part of the solution. But here's another issue that people have not been talking about. There has been a recent survey that had about 400 officers that answered questions. And one of the questions was, have you looked at another job in the last 12 months? 70% have. That's a problem. So we do have a recruitment, retention problem, and those who are currently in the force that are not eligible for retirement, but need to feel like there needs to be a change. And that is why when people ask me, what is step one? What is the number one thing to help with recruitment and retention? It's changing leadership at the mayor's office. You need someone that is able to repair relationships. The mayor's office with the police department and the community. Because it's a three-pronged approach. And when you change the leadership at the mayor's office, it will help with rank and file in the police department and our community. Because I know that our community is tired of seeing increasing crime. They're tired of when they call 911, if it's not a life or death situation, there's going to be a longer wait time. And these are not things that our community says is acceptable for ensuring public safety.
So let's talk about retention. What is causing officers to look for jobs elsewhere, to begin looking outside of Wichita?
Yeah. So when you have a mayor who has had headlines across our community over the last few years that show a different light on police officers, I think that signals to your rank and file whether or not you respect them. And I don't believe that...
Do you have an example of that?
So I will say that the ethics board that the mayor created, the first person to violate that ethics board is our own mayor, and it's regarding the neighborhood cleanup. So that was involving one of our officers. And again, we need a mayor that respects not just law enforcement, but our community. And I was at a recent neighborhood cleanup, wanting to be a volunteer just on the outskirts, trying to understand why these neighborhood cleanups are so important. And I can tell you, neighbors want to clean up their own neighborhoods. They want a place where they can dump these tires that people have dropped off in their alleyways, or sofas that from a previous tenant. And so I'm glad that there are neighborhood cleanups, and I think that they have a value in our community, but they need to be utilized by those who really need that service. So then when you have, again, back to the officers, when you don't have that respect and you're not showing not only respect for officers, but respect for the community and a neighborhood cleanup, it says something. And I think that you need a mayor that walks the walk and talks the talk.
And talking about the mayor, Brandon Whipple says in his interview next week, which comes after yours, he says that your platform lacks details. Your response?
Well, if you look at my website, I have not veered away from the plan. The plan for the very first 4 pillars, and they are very clear: ensuring public safety, growing our economy, restoring trust in City Hall, and building a united community. There is a plan for ensuring public safety. And I believe that the very first thing that needs to happen is when you change leadership in the mayor's office, we will have someone that supports the police chief in trying to do the right thing for the police department. You need a supportive individual who is a leader who can bring people together. You also need not just the respect, but also the resources to deal with public safety. The plan for strengthening our economy, I'm so grateful for the endorsement of the Wichita Chamber of Commerce. What that tells me is not only their members, but also the South Central Kansas realtors have also endorsed me. What that tells me is that people who are job creators, people who are wanting to help those individuals find homes in our community, all want someone that is a collaborator, someone that can bring this community together on certain priorities. And I have always said that the priorities are getting back to the basics, getting back to police, fire, water, infrastructure. These are the real core services of local government. I'm just trying to get back to the core mission. And so to strengthen our economy, we need to retain the talent that we have, which really means making sure that these young people that we're investing in, like myself when I was a Wichita public school student, decides and chooses to stay in Wichita because of educational opportunities at a 4-year university, or a technical school, or a vocational school, or a trade school, or once they graduate, that they go straight into a job that becomes a career for them. So I believe that when you talk about number 2 and what's the plan for strengthening our economy, it's making sure that we actually have real collaboration between education, the government, and also industry. And I, again, have those endorsements. Third is restoring trust in City Hall. I have told you that it's important that someone with journalism skills is in the mayor's office, able to ask the questions, the tough questions, the questions that the community wants to know. And I believe that it's important to be transparent, communicate concisely, consistently, and also if we do have anything that deals with public-private partnerships or any incentives, that you must hold developers accountable. And it must show a great return on investment for our taxpayer dollars. And so those are the issues regarding trust. Things that have eroded trust are the unethical behavior that has happened not in this particular administration, but over the last several years. And so we need to make sure that things like a baseball stadium are clearly communicated to our community. Is it a want or is it a need? And if it's a need, explain to the community how they can see this process really work transparently, not behind closed doors, not with sweetheart deals. You need to make sure that you have a mayor that can clearly communicate to the community those needs versus the wants, that we really need to focus on the needs first.
All right, the mayor also says that several of your local donors are being sued by the city for ripping off taxpayers. He adds, I don't think those people made an investment in the campaign unless they thought they could somehow manipulate that candidate down the road. How would you keep that money from influencing the decisions you make as mayor?
First and foremost, I want anyone to please look at my financial contributions report. That has been out in the open since day one. And so number one, I don't have any donors who are being sued by the city of Wichita. So that is completely false. Number two, it's probably because the mayor might need to look at the difference between families in our community. There are the Steven and the Stevens families. Those are two different types of families, by the way. So yes, I have some contributors from the Stevens, plural, S, and I'm really grateful because I, again, have had the support of more than 700 contributors across our community. And what that tells me is that people are investing in a vision, not an individual. They're investing in a vision, and that vision has been clear from day one. It's public safety, economy, trust, community. So when the next question, even within that, was, am I going to be beholden to any one of my contributors? Right. It is actually an insult. As an independent thinker, someone that grew up right here in our community, I can tell you that I've built a lot of relationships over the last 30 years, and I'm grateful for those relationships, but I am also a very ethical individual. And I can tell you that I am not beholden to any of my contributors. As a matter of fact, I don't believe fully with all of my contributors, but what they all believe in, what they're investing in or contributing to, is a vision, a clear vision that is publicly stated, reiterated multiple times. We need to get back to lowering crime. We need to have more economic opportunities for all in our community. We need a local government that is actually trustworthy and the community can feel good because they are communicating with them. And we need to build a united community that is not partisan. And that is what I'm excited about, that people have from all political backgrounds, from all economic backgrounds, and educational and occupational backgrounds have supported this campaign. I actually have the contributions of members of our community from every single zip code in Wichita, Kansas. And I am so grateful for the $5 donation that someone has contributed to the $500 limit that others have been able to. Both of those contributions to me are equal. It's what you're able to give to help us get the message across that we want to get back to the local core services of local government.
You have accused the city council of making behind the doors deals. And if you were to become mayor, how would you plan to establish your credibility with those council members, especially with that accusation and without any leadership or political experience?
I am not trying to bring up things that have not been part of the public record. You've seen the vote on several of the issues, and so you can go back to seeing who voted yay or nay. So that's public record. So I challenge individuals to get back and see where they voted, yay or nay, on said issues. And I am not trying to attack the individual. I'm not trying to attack anyone. What I'm trying to remind people is that our community wants to make sure that it's an open process. Local government should be open, but it also needs to be communicated with our community so that they can understand. And so I want to get back to making sure that we have a council that can work together. I have had the great opportunity to meet all the sitting council members as well as those some of those who are running for those open seats. And I can tell you that we have at least a base level, we know each other, first name basis, and there's no animosity. And I want to work with all our council members because at the end of the day, a mayor in Wichita is only one vote out of 7, does not have veto power, does not get to supersede any of the council members. So what we need is someone that is a consensus builder, someone that can have those relationships. And I am trying my best to meet people where they're at, and especially our council members. I'm really grateful for all that they do for their districts. We have 6 district council members that advocate for their districts, and that is what we need. That is great, and I'm glad to see people like Brandon Johnson advocate for District 1 and everything that is good for his district. And so we need to continue doing things that help communities all across the city of Wichita. And as the leader, the mayor, it's really about bringing all those different needs for each of those districts to prioritize. What is it that we can all 6 of us agree on, or at least, at the very least, 4 people can agree on? I'd love to see more votes that are not just 4-3, which have happened over the last 4 years. I'd love to see more 5s, more 6, or all 7s. That's what I'm hoping to see, because I believe that there are lots of issues in our community that we can tackle together. And I think that when you have a whole community that understands the issues, that transparent nature will help the community also say, I can also be part of the solution.
So what is your specific vision for a core downtown, the riverfront, Century 2, Convention Center, and Performing Arts Center, and the East Bank?
You know, having grown up here in Wichita since I was 8 years old, I love this community, and I love that there are so many different attractions and opportunities for people to enjoy as a family and as young professionals. So let's start off with just at the core of the river. What I'm most excited about are nonprofits that are doing some of that work. Let's take, for instance, Exploration Place. I started volunteering there when I was a freshman in high school. I was one of the first batch of volunteers to help that science museum. And now, 20 plus years later, what I'm seeing is now a new vision, a master plan with renderings that show what else can happen on that footprint. And so I'm excited with what Exploration Place and Adam Smith and the team are doing to help continue making EP a destination. So that's happening on the river. There's going to be an amphitheater that will energize that area. So that's a little bit more north of where you're talking about, but that still activates the river. Then what I'm also excited to see is something maybe not at the river, but close enough. I see education really being at the core of downtown. You see the new DO school, you see the culinary school, and now this new biomedical school. You're going to have thousands of students and educators in the downtown core. That is creating mass downtown, which is also going to create demand for whether it's housing or other amenities. I know that people like to talk about the grocery store, so I'll say that as well, because when you have mass, when you actually have critical mass, development can happen. So now let's move to the river, East and West Banks. Over the years, ever since I was a little girl, I've been going to Century 2. I have been a volunteer with the Wichita Asian Association, and our festival celebrates 42 years in October 28th. And we use Century 2. And we're really grateful for that space because we at first only had one section of Century 2. Now we take up 2 sections of Century 2. So there's opportunities there. What I believe needs to happen with downtown, riverfront, East or West Bank is letting the community have a voice. And I'm talking about the rest of the community, not just those who are at the downtown core creating these visions, but rather let our community vote, a public vote on something that is clearly visioned and clearly stated out for folks. But I think that that vision also needs to be fiscally responsible. So you need to show a clear financial plan on it. And once you have a clear vision, a clear financial plan, then you let the community decide.
So one concern that is being expressed by some voters is your lack of leadership experience, that you have not headed anything, you have not run any organization per se. How do you answer that?
Well, I will challenge all individuals to lead. That is really the Kansas Leadership Center motto. Everyone can lead. And I really believe that even our young people who are watching this show tonight, that they should be considering themselves also leaders. What can I do to take a leadership role? I started with a leadership role within my own family. When I came to the United States of America, I did not speak English, but I knew that I would have to really take a leadership role within my own family to become the main translator. So that was my North Star. I made education my North Star. I wanted to speak well, write well, and really be a good student in our community, which means I'm really a lifelong learner in this community. I will continue to learn. I won't know everything, and I hope that you don't expect any public official to know everything, because that is not true, and it is a goal that is not feasible. Instead, you should want a leader who will continue learning, continue listening. And I have been listening to this community over the last 30 years, but specifically when you talk about leadership experience, leading organizations, I can tell you I have led. I've led student organizations, both at the high school level and the collegiate level. I was the Kansas DECA president in high school. I was the Students in Free Enterprise president in college. But here is what maybe a lot of folks don't know. I have led a nonprofit organization as its president. So I was the president of the Wichita Asian Association, which really was an opportunity for me to bring a lot of my passions together. My passion for giving back to this community, my passion for letting folks understand that in America, we are a cultural diverse group of individuals, and we celebrate that every year with the Wichita Asian Festival. When I led that organization, our organization was not making money, and that is okay. We wanted to give a free gift to the community, a community-wide event, but we started fundraising. I knocked on doors of businesses, of individuals, asking them to donate to the Wichita Asian Association. And now this organization has grown. It has grown into an organization that provides thousands of dollars in scholarships. And I continue to serve with the Wichita Asian Association as one of the directors for the festival. And so I have had leadership roles in organizations. I have also served on nonprofit organizations with multi-million-dollar budgets as well, the Orpheum Theater being one of them. When I was with Botanica, helping with the Chinese Garden of Friendship, the Wichita State Alumni Association, these are all places where I have been able to lead. And I hope that individuals in our community do not get discouraged, because I believe that you can be a leader. You are a leader. You can make a difference in your own families. You can make a difference in your own communities. And you can make a difference in nonprofit associations. And I am so grateful that I've been able to lead in my own family, but also in our community.
Lily, you describe yourself as an outsider. Your list of donors includes some of Wichita's wealthiest people. How does that make you an outsider?
Sure. You know, I've been part of this community, as I mentioned, for over now 30 years, and I've built relationships in this community. And I'm not going to down anybody who has been a job creator in our community, who provides opportunities for those in our community to rise. But I'm also not beholden, as earlier you have mentioned. I am not beholden to any of these individuals. I'm simply grateful that they have donated. And I want people to be very understanding about this. There's a $500 limit per individual, per entity. And so what you're seeing is truly a movement. You're seeing a movement from someone who is not a registered member of one of the two major political parties that is able to bring people together. And I think that's what this community is hungry for. They're hungry for less partisanship, but just get to the issues, because they don't want to see crime continuing to rise. They also don't want to see our community be in headlines, whether it's for safety issues or for things that may embarrass our community. We need a mayor that is able to bring job creators to the table, those who are working for those job creators, everyone at this table to say, okay, we have a list of 100 things we want. What are the actual needs? And so we need to, again, prioritize, because over the last 4 years, prices for everything, the cost of living has just continued to increase. Taxes have increased. And so we need to get back to some basics in local government and focus on those priorities.
So how do you plan to create or attract high-paying jobs to Wichita?
I'm so excited about that question, because just this week we had a summit by Flagship Kansas that really focused on tech jobs. And there's an opportunity here for us in Wichita. In Kansas, we are only ranked second in terms of making sure that our economy has tech jobs. So the only other state that can compete is Missouri. So they're number one in terms of their economy being tech jobs. Here in Kansas, we have that opportunity to continue bringing tech jobs into Wichita and into the region. And when I talk about strengthening our economy, I think that it's important to also be a partner with our surrounding cities. Wichita's not competing with our neighbors to the south or the north. What we're doing is trying to be more regional and think regionally how to attract these jobs. And those are the high-paying jobs. Those tech jobs average median about $70,000. So these are great paying jobs. And guess what? Those tech jobs offer a lot of flexibility that a lot of our young people are asking for, especially those young families. I've been told that childcare is an issue, transportation is an issue. So when you have tech jobs that allow you to have a great wage, but also opportunity for flexibility, I think those are what we need to continue attracting into Wichita.
Lily, describe your politics.
Sure. Let's see. I am a registered libertarian. What does that mean? Right. I'm not beholden to a specific political party, but I love the word liberty. That's why my family came to America. The freedoms that are afforded in our great country, we need to celebrate. And as a libertarian, for me, it means freedom, personal freedom, making sure that we can make decisions for ourselves. And so I'm really grateful to be in a country where I'm able to do that. The country where my parents left from, they would not be able to do a lot of the things that I'm able to do, including running for office. Someone who literally has no established family in politics. I'm able to, for the first time as a non-political, first-time candidate, run for office. Those are things that in America you can do. I believe that through a vision that you really have, that North Star that you have, and the hard work that you put towards working toward that North Star, you're able to accomplish. And so for me, that's my political background, making sure that we empower the individual to say, how can this individual have the knowledge that they need to really reach their full potential? And in Wichita, Kansas, I feel like they have helped me reach my full potential with my first dream, which was to be a journalist here. I had that dream, and I worked hard to get not just my 2 degrees at WSU, but also my master's degree in journalism. So I believe that in our community, you can do a lot of the things that you can dream about because people in our community want to help you. And I am someone that, yes, personal liberty is important, but I also feel like it would be not honorable to not remind myself that I didn't do this alone either. I had mentors. people that really saw something in me, and they invested their time. They mentored me. They volunteered their knowledge and imparted a lot of that to me. And I'm so grateful to those mentors, and I want to make them proud. I want to make those individuals who invested in my education proud that I'm now pursuing a different dream. And that dream is to help lead the city of Wichita into the future.
So what if you don't win this election? What's next?
Okay, well, that one, I am just right now completely focused on November 7th. I have not thought beyond that date because when I have a North Star, my heart, my mind, and my full effort is on that North Star. And my North Star is telling me we have to encourage more people in our community to believe that their voice matters, because their voice does matter. We need to get more people out to vote on November 7th. I want people to register to vote. I want people to remind their friends and family to get out to vote. And so beyond November 7th, what's going to happen on November 9th? I hope that on November 8th and 9th and that week, I'm able to meet with the city staff on how we're going to move forward on making sure that this agenda that focuses on public safety, the economy, trust, and community can start moving forward beginning in 2024.
PBS Kansas invited you and Mr. Whipple to debate live for 90 minutes, primetime debate, which was going to be watched by a lot of people. Mr. Whipple accepted, you declined. Why did you decline your favorite public television station's debate?
Well, Victor, it has nothing to do with you. It's not personal. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to you and the team here, because you all put a wonderful primary debate together that allowed all 9 individuals, even though not all 9 showed up, you allowed the opportunity for true democracy. What I have been so excited about is seeing more people wanting to be part of the process. There were 9 individuals that said, I want to be the next leader in our community. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, only 2 got to move on August 1st. But during the August 1st primary, what I saw was people saying, we want new leadership, we want change. More than 70% of individuals voted for someone other than the current incumbent. So that tells me that the community is hungry for change. They want new leadership. They want a fresh perspective. And so because of your wonderful primary debate, it must have created a lot of talk amongst community groups and organizations, because even that day I had one of the TV stations ask me, if you're one of the individuals that moves forward, we have a debate already scheduled. Can you please put that on your calendar? So that was on the day of your own debate. So I want you to know that I'm really appreciative of not just you and the team putting on the primary debate, but it generated more individuals to say, we can host our own forum or our own debate. And so for the first time, I have seen more forums and debates for a mayoral campaign than any time in our local history. And so we've been inundated with requests. I even just before I walked in had another request for a questionnaire. So I've been getting so many requests for all of these opportunities, and I love that there's more engagement. So what I encourage people to do is get involved, go to these forums, and continue watching. And I thank you again for that 1 hour one-on-one. But again, I want to say that when you're inundated with so many requests, you have to start saying no. And it's not because I don't want to speak with our incumbent. As a matter of fact, I was just with him yesterday in front of hundreds of school students at Southeast High School. And we had a very cordial, a very well thought out forum. And I think that that's important. We need to engage more individuals in our community.
So why did you turn us down?
I had a lot of requests.
Oh, okay. My final question for you, Lily, is because of value increases in property, there is a projected budget surplus for Wichita in the years 2025 and 2026. What specifically would you recommend using the budget surplus for?
Well, that budget surplus is something that we need to be very prudent with. I think that it's important that we, again, focus on that very first problem I mentioned, public safety, recruitment and retention. We need to make sure that there is money there. I know that in the past, my opponent has mentioned there has been increases in budget for the police department. Well, even with an increase in budget over the last 4 years, we've seen an increase in crime. So that's not a good correlation. So not everything has to deal with money. But I believe that with a surplus, we need to prioritize those public safety, making sure that that's being taken care of. And really, if we are able to provide relief to our working class families, that's what we should be doing. When I knock on doors of individuals across our community, they just tell me that they're tired of just increases all across the board. They want local government to just do its job. So our job is to make sure that when you call 911, a firefighter shows up, or an EMS worker shows up, or a police officer shows up. And when I have community members telling me that's the priority, that's where the money should go.
On that note, thank you so much. Mayoral Challenger Lily Wu.
Thanks, Victor.
And thank you for watching this special edition of One-on-One. One-on-one@kpts.org is our email address. That's if you have a question or comment. Next week, I'll spend an hour talking with Mayor Brandon Whipple. I'm Victor Hogstrom, and I'll see you then.